Monica, a busy day in court. We heard voice messages from Karen Reid to John O'Keefe, and the day ended with the medical examiner talking about his cause of death.
John, I'm going home. I cannot babysit your niece. I need to go home. You are using me right now. You're another girl.
That's one of 8 voicemails Karen Reid left on John O'Keefe's cell phone the night he died. An investigator for state police told the jury Reid called her boyfriend more than 50 times.
So this is what the extraction is showing me.
Trooper Nicholas Guarino examined the cell phones in this case, including O'Keefe's, plotting its location on a map. He says O'Keefe left the Waterfall Bar and Grill and went to 34 Fairview Road, where his phone remained in the same spot on the lawn where his body was found between 12:25 and 6:15 in the morning.
It shows me it's there the entire night.
Guarino says there's no indication John O'Keefe went into the house.
Wow.
Guarino says there's no indication John O'Keefe went into the house.
You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record.
Hello. How is everybody? I'm going to talk to you today about the text messages between John O'Keefe and Karen Reid that we didn't hear in trial, and really try to put them in context with the help of my favorite blog, Innocence Fraud Watch's blog, who has done a really fantastic job with the timeline in this case. The link is in the description of this episode, so check it out. But before we do, I do read my comments, and we have mail, so I thought it would be worthy to go over a viewer this channel and their comments. So I thought they were so wild. This is from Miriam McKenna 808. According to your beliefs, finding Karen Reid guilty, then you are saying you do not believe the medical examiner? You mean the medical examiner said it couldn't be a fight? Yeah, that's the way they work. The medical examiner didn't witness it. It could be, these kind of injuries can come from a lot of things, but didn't think it was likely it came from a fight. Did you hear that part, Miriam? That you do not believe any of the expert testimony. No, I never said I didn't believe any of the expert testimony. I said that the defense witnesses were garbage. It's fine for you to think she's guilty. Okay, just keep that in mind, everybody. It's fine for me to think that she's guilty. What I don't agree is that you came to your decision before the trial. Yeah, because using common logic, like, actually, I didn't really come to a full decision. I came to a sense, an open-minded sense. I said, look, if there's something else, and I'm still waiting to be persuaded the other way, reading the filings and looking at the totality of the evidence. Even after the trial began, you continued with the same bias. Why aren't you saying this to any of the other channels? Why aren't any of the other channels, like Melanie Little, Defense Diaries, that garbage channel, Shaming of Jay. What a piece of garbage he turned out to be. Why aren't they ever called biased? Seeming to ignore all the incompetence of the police depth. This is just about Karen Reed. This is just about justice in his family. No, it's just about a giant innocence fraud campaign that harasses witnesses, fine to harass the victim's family. Is that and why would you think that a innocent person would need a harassment campaign? That's what I'd like to know. But this is like the madness going on in the Karen Reed side. How this investigation was handled is a total disgrace. Really, how? You want to talk solo cups? What would you have done? What would you have done in that same situation that would have changed the outcome? But yet you continue to focus on Karen Reed's guilt. Yeah, because it's absolutely overwhelming, Miriam. Have you been paying attention? His DNA is on the inside of her taillight, scattered all over the scene. And there's no opportunity for police planning. So you tell me what happened. Using the evidence. This is so disappointing that you are so biased. You are so biased. Maybe I should get a t-shirt that says, "You are so biased. You are so biased." You are so biased against Karen Reed that you cannot or will not listen to what is actually being ed. Come on, guys. You can't even listen to what is being ED'd. The bottom line is no one knows the truth of what happened, including you. I love that argument. This is like the biggest cop-out argument in U.S. history. People love to say that. Like, so like John O'Keefe's taillight DNA is on the inside of the taillight. It's scattered all over the scene where Karen Reed said she left him. She said, I hit him. But no one really knows what happened. We can't figure out. We can't use our powers of deduction skills to figure out what happened. Have we reached like such an idiocracy level of thinking that that's where we're going to go now? Like, I don't know. I just don't know what happened. There's I looked out my window last night and there was no snow on the ground, and now there's snow. I don't know if it snowed, but because I didn't see it happen. I was asleep. I don't know. Maybe there was a giant dump of snow by a tractor. You know what I mean? Like, is this where we're going? Have we lost all powers to reason and deduce? Most of us want the truth. Do you? Or do you want more sensational true crime content that goes all sorts of different directions and all sorts of different conspiracy theories? The only way to truth is by evidence. Yeah, I agree with you there. I'm curious, Roberta, how did you come to believe Karen Reed was guilty even before you heard the evidence? And if anyone had trash witnesses, it would be all the butt dials. Oh, they're back to the butt dials. All the inconsistencies, all the rid of phones, rehoming the family dog 7 years, selling their home, that it was an heirloom. The home was an heirloom? I've never heard that before. The witnesses were caught lying, deleting, etc. Really? How? Who was caught lying? But you call the defense witnesses trashy. Of course, or you can give me an explanation to all these actions and behavior. Because or of these witnesses as not suspicious and showing me that all these behaviors are normal everyday behaviors. Yeah, they are normal everyday behaviors. You're really stretching it. I believe in the end you have shown more bias against Karen Reed. Oh, the lovely Karen Reed, and showing her perceived guilt that you feel more so that you wanting to find the truth. This is such a turnoff to many. She's speaking for many, guys. You speak about harassing others, yet is exactly what you're doing to an innocent woman. Shame on you. Do you guys remember when she said it's fine for you to think it's guilty? Apparently not. Apparently, shame on me. Oh, this one was a treasure. This was a piece of Karen Reed spaz logic not to be believed that I just had to share with you guys. Shame on you for not supporting a cop killer. Shame on you. The projection is sometimes hard to handle, but let's get into these text messages, shall we? But let's set the scene first. So I want to go back a little bit beforehand. Hold on one second, guys. Okay. To Saturday, the 15th of January, when Brian Higgins helped save the life of a colleague in 2010 and subsequently received a badge of bravery in 2013. Brian first met John O'Keefe and Karen Reed around a year before or a year after. See, these are the kind of lying witnesses, the kind that save the life of a colleague and win badges for bravery. And Brian first met John O'Keefe and Karen Reed around a year before, or a little over a year before January of 2022 on the '15th of January 22, Brian went to John's house to watch the Patriots playoff game against the Buffalo Bills. Brian recalls arriving at some point in the second half of the game and being one of the last guests to leave. Brian said that when he was walking to the front door of John's home to the exit, this is really interesting. Karen suggested she walk him out through the downstairs garage. And while walking him through that garage, Brian said that Karen made an advance on him and surprised him with a kiss on the lips. And during the course of the interview, Mr. Higgins provided Massachusetts State Police with printouts of his text communication with both the victim and the defendant. I mean, how embarrassing. Talk about lying and, the fact that he upgraded his phone. But he handed all this embarrassing text messages between them over willingly. Mr. Higgins indicated that he had first received a text from, and then unknown to his number, that he subsequently confirmed was that of the defendant. I love that Brian Higgins consistently called Karen Reed the defendant through the entirety of his testimony. In the text communications offered to the grand jury, the defendant confirms their kiss and urges Mr. Higgins not to worry, as she knows where the cameras are in the victim's house. So this is what I've been saying about Karen Reed. She loves creating her own evidence and using it. So, well, I would have been caught on camera had we been, but if you go this way, you won't be caught on camera, right? Had she been accused of that? Well, if I did it in the garage, it would have been caught on camera. Well, not if you go this way, right? And when she came to the scene of the crime, she immediately called John O'Keefe and started recording her own hysteria, putting her phone down by Karen Reed's tire. Also deleting the ring cam videos. So this is something that she has in common with Aidan Kearney. They love to use pictures, video, to further a false narrative. in the false narrative at the crime scene is that she was in shock, that she didn't know, that she was in surprise, shock, and hysteria. When that, I believe that was a performance. So this was the February 3rd, 2002 interview. And so some of her text messages are screenshots of the messages sent by Karen Reed via her intermediary, Natale, to Aiden Turtleboy Carney, excuse me. They're in discovery, but I'm not sure they're public. I am the accused, Aiden. I love how Karen Reed has to figure out, tell Aiden how the legal system works and what things mean. Higgins hit on me all the time, never laid a pinky finger on him. Caitlin was not a legit investigator, was an intern or something. Tell him that tipster is bad, not public. Levy confirmed no swarms of FBI were in Canton. And he went with that. I think the tipster was watching a funeral procession. I admit to Higgins because it would lend to motive. I'd admit to Higgins because it would lend to motive in a huge way, but it didn't happen. He wishes. So she understands that it's doesn't make it look good when you're already moving on to another guy. And it gives context to these text messages between them where Karen Reed is struggling to get control over John O'Keefe, calling him over and over again, text messaging over and over again, playing the victim, gaslighting the heck out of him. It's really something. So when you listen to the witnesses, they were putting on who saw them in the Waterfall that night bar before, I believe what happened was Karen Reed hit John O'Keefe purposely, willingly with her car and left him to die there. So here we go. So on the 23rd, Karen Reed texted Brian Higgins saying, phone works both ways. But so going back to the Waterfall, everyone said they were in good spirits. Nothing looked out of ordinary with them. But if you look at his body language, he's pulling away from her. But they were putting on a good public face. But what was going on behind the scenes is that she was communicating, flirting with Brian Higgins, kissing him, trying to start some kind of relationship, that he was uncomfortable with her motives and, like a police officer, digging for what was really going on there. And for Karen Reed, it was a distraction, a boost in her confidence, and something else for her to control. And Brian Higgins wasn't a good mark for her. He asked too many questions. He didn't do what she wanted immediately. And she thought, I think that had this not happened, it would have probably fizzled out anyway, because he was not going to be her mark. So Karen Reed texted him, on the 23rd of January at 9:40 saying, the phone works both ways. And Brian Higgins is replying, I thought you were all set. And then Karen Reed saying, with talking, no. And Brian replied, you sure? And so to give more context to this, John O'Keefe had been telling Karen Reed that their relationship had become toxic, that there were occasions in the weeks leading up to the 28th of January when John had asked Karen to leave his house, but she refused to do so. And John's niece described an argument which took place in the weeks leading up to Karen Reid's murder. She said that John had told Karen he wanted to end the relationship and that it had run its course and that it was not healthy and that they argued too often. Now, my memory of the Commonwealth's filing is that this happened, that John O'Keefe had asked Karen Reid to leave the day before, so the 27th, and that she wouldn't. That's my memory of it. Let me know if I'm wrong on that. John's nephew also described arguments between John and Karen in the couple of weeks leading up to Karen's murder of John. And I remember in the filings, either the niece or the nephew saying they fight about things that normal people don't fight about, because it wasn't about the things that they were fighting about. It was about fighting to get out of Karen Reid's control, or Karen Reid fighting to control John. And I think she's being really honest when they said, well, you loved him. And she said, no, we were dating, because it's not about love for Karen Reid. It's about control. Being what I view as a psychopath. And I know that there's been talk about her being borderline. I've known borderlines. They have too many feelings. They split people into all good or all bad. They have trouble being left, and then they lash out. It's the fatal attraction disease in its extreme. But Karen Reid has no feelings. So we go to Friday the 28th. Karen Reid had allegedly told Carrie Roberts that she was not supposed to stay in Canton last night. So that supports what I remember about the niece or nephew saying that Karen Reid was asked to leave and she wouldn't. Karen Reid told State Trooper Yuri Buchanan and Michael Proctor that she and John O'Keefe had a verbal argument on the morning of the 28th, January 2022, over what she allegedly fed John's niece for breakfast. At some time on the 28th, Karen Reid had texted John O'Keefe's sister-in-law, Erin O'Keefe, and said, I wish I didn't talk to another O'Keefe after 2024. And Erin replied, what's happened? What's going on? And leading up to the night at the waterfall, the defendant and O'Keefe exchanged several text messages about their strange relationship. So these are they. And there's a lot included in here that you didn't hear. I included the entire file. It's called Exhibit 627. It's in the description of this episode if you want to read it straight without the context. So at 9:19:35, John O'Keefe answered a call from Karen Reid. Between 9:19 and 2:59, Karen Reid called John O'Keefe 18 times. John rejected 11 of Karen's calls, missed 4, and answered 3. I would love a statistician to put that into statistics. How many, what percent, right? He answered very few. 3 out of 18 is very few. John O'Keefe answered a call from Karen Reid at 9:35 a.m. And at 9:49 and 20 seconds, Karen Reid sent John O'Keefe a message reading, "You have really hurt me this time." And John O'Keefe replied, "I'm sorry, this has been made an issue with me for 8 years. It physically hurts me to see everyone else in their life do things for them, and I'm always forced to be the bad guy." Okay. Karen Reid replied at 10:09 a.m., "I'm not the same as everyone else." These were read in court. "Most of the time, I try to do what is healthy, smart for them." See, isn't she such a good girlfriend? More importantly, She's not the trash girlfriend feeding the kids Dunkin' Donuts. I try to support you and what you need. You just lashed out at me and said terrible things. Keep this in context that she's the one cheating. She's the one saying, I never want to talk to another O'Keefe again. She's the one who has real issues and has checked out. I don't know what you've gotten to. I don't know how you've gotten to this point with me. It's not that like I've gotten to the same point. I don't know how you've gotten to this point. It's not that we're fighting all the time, because I can keep fighting forever as long as I have control and get what I and get that feeling of power and control from this relationship. When I'm trying my hardest, when she's trying her hardest, texting other guys, kissing other guys, or one other guy, excuse me. You made your point, and I continue. One other guy that we know about, right? You made your point and continue to beat me down. I have a lot going on too. Physically, I am falling apart and trying to get answers and help. So that's a Karen Reed technique. We hear about her colitis, her brain tumor at the bail hearing, her MS, and that's something she'll weaponize when needed to. At 10:10, Karen Reed messages John O'Keefe saying, I'm just your girlfriend. I'm not a perfect parent. I'm trying very hard and sometimes treat them nothing like I used to. And at 10:14, John replies, I know, I'm sorry for lashing out. I'm just hurting and struggling daily with them. Always feel like I'm failing at this parenting thing. I wasn't built for this. So he's got a really high stress job. He's got 2 kids that he had no time to prepare for. They were kind of put in his lap when his sister died. And by all accounts, he was a fantastic guardian to them, or a funkle. At 12:21, Karen Reed replies, it's true. I know she's her mother's daughter, but she wouldn't be so bright and successful if she lived with anyone else. So now she's buttering him up a little bit. At 12:21, 36, Karen Reed also stated, Kaylee isn't perfect, but everything wonderful about her is because of you. Karen Reed sent John O'Keefe a message referring to his sister, Kristen, who passed away in 2013. Her message read, wow, Kristen just sent you 2 back-to-back messages to not lose faith in the kids. So she's manipulating John O'Keefe using the ghost of his dead sister. At 12:32:06, John O'Keefe replied with a blank message. And he seems to do that a lot with Karen Reed in these. At 12:33, Karen Reed continued, no, life can pick you up sometimes. And I wonder if that's, okay. I wonder if that's a blank message or it was redacted. That's what I'm curious about, if he really did just send blank messages or if it was redacted. Please be happy with them and put away your frustrations for the rest of the day and be proud of yourself, JJ. So now she's like, I'm on your team. I know I'm cheating on you behind your back, but I'm the good one. I'm trying really hard and I'm struggling with all these illnesses and I'm your biggest cheerleader. Come on. How manipulative, right? At 12:40, Michael Camerino would usually go over to the Keefes and with one of both of his children. Michael texted John at 12:40 about John's niece being accepted into Bishop VM High School in Attleboro. His text read, congrats, this is great news. John O'Keefe. At 1 p.m., John O'Keefe and his nephew went to D&E Pizza, owned by Chris Albert, for a slice of pizza. This is something that John and his nephew apparently did a lot, as often as twice a week. So as he's getting pizza with his nephew, Karen Reed is calling and texting. At 1:18, John O'Keefe messaged Karen Reed, that bothers me more than anything. Should have sent Peg's or Sarah's W-2s were all equal guardians. So something to do with money, and you would think that Karen Reed would step up here being the finance professor. That's what my take on it is. It's really unclear what it's about, but something to do with finances. And Karen Reed replied, maybe you can call someone. And John O'Keefe missed a call from his father, John Jr., and you'll see what John O'Keefe says back to this. John O'Keefe returned his father's call at 1:31 and at 1:46, so he replies back to Karen Reed's text that maybe he can call someone about those W-2s with, like who? Like you, Karen Reed? Like the finance person? Maybe you could help out. Maybe you could take off this load. That's what I thought, but correct me if I'm wrong. If it's something deeper, that if you can fill in some of the missing pieces in that, let me know. At 1:47, John O'Keefe also messaged Karen Reed, what time are you coming here? And at 2, John O'Keefe texted Michael Camerino, you guys are around tonight? And so what you're going to start to see as the day gets on, Karen Reed gets more anxious and more anxious to go out drinking. And John O'Keefe, being police officer, picks up on it pretty quickly. Like I said before, I've interviewed police officers. It's the spookiest feeling. They know the questions you're going to ask before you ask them. They start to answer them. They're incredibly intuitive about people. That has been my experience. At 2:05, John O'Keefe sent Karen Reed a blank message. At 12:06, Karen replied, I don't know what time. Feel kind of out of it, trying to clear my head. John O'Keefe replied, okay. Karen said, text me later when you guys settle in. John replies, sure. At 12:16, Karen Reed sends John O'Keefe another message saying, I feel pretty shitty how this morning went down. I know you said sorry, but it really stung, especially when I've tried pretty hard lately. I feel like a loser turning around and coming back over after everything you said. And John says back, not sure what else you want me to do. I said, I'm sorry. I was out of line. If you prefer to stay home, I totally get it. And that's a theme you'll see emerging. If you want to stay home, if you don't want to come, no probs. Stay home. And Karen Reed replied, things in my own life have been difficult too. She's back at it with her health. John O'Keefe replies at 12:17, I know. Hold on one second. I think I might take a break here. And thanks, Sarah Salata, for becoming a YouTube member. Cynthia, thanks so much. A special thanks to Murder by Maestro. Twitter and chats are the worst I have ever seen today. Vile and hateful. Okay. So the lot of hate in the chat. That always means we're doing something right. I will be back in 36 seconds. Don't go anywhere. See you in a minute. If you are enjoying this episode of my True Crime Report, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share this episode. Get access to exclusive podcasts and other bonus content by becoming a patron today. If you have a question or comment for me, shoot me a super chat and I'll do my best to answer it and read it on air. Thanks so much. Now back to the show. Okay. Thanks for meeting me on the other side of that break. So where we left off, Karen Reed was saying things in my life have been difficult. John said he knew, or I know. And he answers a call from her, rejects a call from her. Karen Reed messages John O'Keefe saying, tell me if you're interested in someone else. Can't think of any reason you've been like this. That's at 2:25. Isn't it interesting? Isn't that a bunch of projection? At 2:25:33, John O'Keefe replies, nope. That's a straightforward answer. At 2:26, John O'Keefe then stated, things haven't been great between us for a while. Ever considered that? So I've always thought this was like pretty interesting text message from John O'Keefe. Like, enough of the playing the martyr, enough of the gaslighting. You know we fight all the time. You know we aren't getting along. You know this isn't, I'm so terrible, you're so wonderful, I'm so explosive, and I'm not reacting to anything that you're doing. And he's being extremely fair, saying it's both of us in this, that it's just not working. At 2:28, John O'Keefe rejects a call. And at 2:29, John O'Keefe messages Karen Reed saying, kids are here, not in the mood to talk. At 2:29, Karen replies right back, so you're not into it anymore. That's fine, but I don't want to keep trying if you're going to keep treating me like this. And she continues on with another text message at 2:29:59 saying, I'm trying to hug and kiss you this morning and you whack me in the face with a pillow. Isn't it interesting she writes that in the present tense? I'm trying. I tried. I'm trying to hug and kiss you this morning and you whack me in the face with a pillow. Like it's happening now. I guess it's a gaslighting, part of her gaslighting. And at 2:30 last night, you were basically like, yeah, what about when we talked about the future? So why don't you just admit it? You're not into it so much anymore. And John O'Keefe replies, not how it went down, but okay. And Karen says, can you please admit your head is out of the game with us? Never mind, my head is out of the game with Brian Higgins, but it's your head that's really out of the game. He just wants away. He just wants a little space, and she's just like right on top of him. Must have been a nightmare. John O'Keefe replied, sick of always arguing and fighting. It's been weekly for several months now. So yeah, I'm not as quick to jump back into being lovey-dovey as you apparently. And he rejects another call right after that at 2:32. John O'Keefe texted Karen saying, OMG, stop calling. Karen Reed replied, then why would you start with me this morning? Like he just started with her randomly out of the blue. I love that. Nothing ever, no context. Karen Reed also replies, you're setting me up to fail. And Karen Reed also sent a message stating, you start a number of fights from your end. John O'Keefe replied, I've explained it a few times already, not doing it again. He also stated, not into fighting all the time. Correct. If you tell me you're interested in someone else, you'll never hear from me again. You can have all the space in the world. And John O'Keefe replied with a blank message. Karen then stated, stop starting with me. See, he starts things with her. And John O'Keefe writes back, I am not answering. Stop calling. I mean, that's about as clear of a boundary as you can make. And then he has to reject call number 4 from Karen Reed at 2:34, call 5 at 2:30, and then the call number 5 right after it. And if you've ever gotten messages like that or calls like that one after another, that it feels like you're being hit over the head constantly. Invaded, bombarded, invaded. Just an absolute violation of yourself. At 2:34, Karen writes, can you please answer after how you treated me earlier? And John O'Keefe writes back, Kaylee is right here. And Karen replied, you start a rager with me out of nowhere, and then you tell me you're sick of fighting with me. And then he rejects a call from her again. And Karen messages, I'm going to grab a drink in a bit. And then John O'Keefe rejects a number 6 call from Karen Reed. Karen Reed went on, can you please answer? John O'Keefe replied, no, Karen, not sure why you have to announce that you're grabbing a drink, but have fun. Karen writes, sing if you want to meet me later. Then she sends another one. Can you please call me? Have to take them to the doctor. He has practice. Karen replied, yeah, 5 minutes. John O'Keefe misses another call from Karen Reed at 2:43. And John O'Keefe replied, my father just walked in. And then John O'Keefe rejects call number 7 from Karen Reed. Karen Reed writes, okay, can you please call me for 2 minutes? And John O'Keefe writes, not right now. Karen Reed writes, I'm there when anyone else needs me, with throwing in a little guilt trip. And then at 2:45, John O'Keefe rejects call number 8 from Karen Reed. And at 2:46:16, Karen Reed writes, yes, John, you gave me utter grief this morning. So he's just constantly back in time to when she was the victim and he was the victimizer. And it's all his fault. Everything bad in the relationship is from him. I'd like you to call me for a mins. And then she messages him again. I've been trying to get over the hump with is arguing, and now you're telling me you're not into things and you don't want to fight weekly, but fly off the handle at 8 a.m. with me, like you're setting me up to fail. It's not that she fails. He sets her up. She fails because of him. If it weren't for him, she wouldn't fail. Oh, this is like a mind trip. I've been dealing with my own personal crisis over things I have zero control over. I'd like to lean on you sometimes. Instead, I just hear everything I've done wrong. John O'Keefe rejects call number 9, not call number 10. And John O'Keefe misses a call at 2:52. At 2:53, John O'Keefe missed another call from Karen Reed. Can you imagine this? Karen Reed then stated to John O'Keefe, you seriously cannot pick up the phone for 2 seconds? John O'Keefe rejected call number 11 from Karen Reed, and John O'Keefe finally calls Karen Reed at 3 o'clock p.m. Karen Reed at 3:08. She's back at the messaging. Why don't you meet me at the hillside at 4:30 or 5? Interesting thing about the hillside is that somewhere that Brian Higgins hangs out. We know from his evidence. Did she think she was going to bump into Brian Higgins there? Very interesting that that's the bar she wants to meet John O'Keefe at. And at 3:10, she writes, or whenever you get everyone settled. At 3:32, Karen Reed then sent John O'Keefe a Facebook friend request with a message reading, hello. John O'Keefe replied on Facebook, hi. John O'Keefe then messaged Karen Reed like, I said, doctor now, he has practice till 6 if you want. So she's friending John O'Keefe because she apparently defriended him a year ago. And that comes up in these text messages. If you want to go start drinking, then go for it. Karen Reed replied, I just want to give you space at the house without me there. So rather meet you out than at the house. And at 3:37, John writes, well, now there's a 72-year-old taking up shop on my couch. Karen Reed writes back, yeah, that too. Karen Reed also messaged, is he going to Collins? And then she's back to the drinkings. at 3:39. So do you plan to go out tonight? Karen, I don't know. And at 3:39, he writes, you're like jonesing to drink, so go. Leave me alone. Just go. Do whatever you want to do. Just do it. Leave me alone. I have other people in my life, Karen, besides you. Ah, nightmare, right? Hold on one sec. It's amazing, right? Hey, Pat Brooks. I love your channel and this awesome community. Your hard work is so appreciated and will so miss you like this coming week because of your jury duty. Thanks, Pat Brooks. I do have jury duty this week. It's going to be hard watching this trial and not having you guys. Well, I'm going to try to set up a stream if I can, but I'm not sure I can tomorrow. So look out for it. Thanks, Pat, for bringing that up. And thank you. Is this amazing? Is this unreal? Can you imagine dealing with Karen Reed? Karen Reed then writes, oh, well, after how this morning went down, I don't think I need to go back over there with you, get frustrated at how I am with the kids. Has nothing to do with drinking. So he calls her out on her drinking. She's like, oh, it has nothing to do with the drinking. It's just, I don't want to be criticized for how I am with the kids because, you know, that's your problem with me, my handling of the kids. Karen Reed also stated, I'm paranoid now that everything I do with them is problematic. See, you pick on me all the time. Now I can't even do anything without worrying that it's wrong. I'm so beaten down by you, John O'Keefe. I can't do a thing. I'm a beaten down woman, terribly insecure and set up to fail by you, the terrible victimizer. And it's exactly the opposite. What a head trip this is. So rather see you for a minute without it, kids around. And at 4 approximately, John went to the doctor's. At 4:20, John O'Keefe texted Michael Camerano, okay, at the driveway with her now. I'll text on my way back. Michael replied, everything okay? To which John replied, yes, stupid shit. He can't deal. This is such stupid shit dealing with Karen. Can't handle it. It's over it. Over it. And I think he summed it up. It's not stupid. What it is abusive. That's what he's dealing with. This is a DV relationship. And, you know, I think this has been brought up before by Boundless Millennial. And I think he's really right when he says, if Karen Reed had been a man doing the same crime, would he have this support? Would people be like, he used his car as a weapon? End of story. Would he even have the basis for an innocent fraud campaign? I don't know. There's a lot of abusive men who do have, really psychopathic men who do have innocent fraud campaigns. But could they make one out of this? Let me know what you think in the comments. Would it fly? I look at Rodney Reed's campaign and can't believe that flies, or Purvis Payne. So I don't know. John also texted Michael Camerano, just told Dr. Jin they both got into Feehan and want to drop Madeline off and hit the hillside for a bit. Michael replied, I probably won't get to your house till 5:30. At 4:47, John O'Keefe messaged Karen saying, what's your plan? At 4:49, John O'Keefe also messaged Karen saying, we just got home, waiting to see what Papa decides. So sweet that he calls his dad Papa. Or else I have to get Patrick at 6. At 4:50, John writes, still home? Karen replies, yes. And at 5:02, John O'Keefe messages Karen Reed and says, So are you staying home or coming here? And Karen Reed writes, I think it's clear to me around with the kids around is slowly killing our relationship. Okay, so now it's gone from John O'Keefe killing the relationship and setting her up to fail. Now the kids are to blame. And it's very much like her campaign. They don't have to have an actual theory to how this was done, because their theory changes all the time, from Colin Albert to Brian Albert to Jen McCabe. It's just anyone but Karen Reed, and that's the way Karen Reed is in her real life. So it's no mystery, since Karen Reed has spearheaded her own innocence fraud campaign, that it goes that way. This is exactly how she operates. And our relationship is much more important to me. At 5:04, John O'Keefe replies back, well, there's a blizzard coming, so we'll be inside all weekend. Karen Reed writes, then it will be over by noon tomorrow. You know what was over by noon tomorrow, Karen Reed? John O'Keefe's life, thanks to you and your psychopathic rage. John O'Keefe replies, don't think so. Karen Reed then writes, I don't want to keep having this constant conflict of the dynamic of the four of us. The harder I try, world's smallest violin. The harder I try. Maybe I can put music to this. Hold on 1 second. I think this needs some. Do I have some appropriate music? Let's see. Yeah, she needs some sad music. I don't want to keep having this constant conflict of the dynamic of the four of us. The harder I try, the more it kills our relationship as a couple. It feels like utter shit in this position. Rather just meet up for and figure out what we might dislike. Okay. Picked up a little bit in pace there. Started out kind of appropriate. John O'Keefe replies, well, I have no idea what's going on. So what do you want? And that's a really interesting question. What do you want, Karen? Do you want Brian Higgins? Do you want me? Do you want, is it just about control with bing, bing, bing answer? Is the kids the problem? Am I the problem? Can we just figure out what we're going to do? Can I just give in to whatever you want to do so that I can end this torturous barrage of phone calls and text messages? And at 5:09, John writes, need to figure out what everyone is doing here. All I know now is Madeline is coming over. No clue about Patrick yet, or if Papa is planning on hanging for a few more hours. Karen then writes, well, you know the story, and if you want me to come up, let me know. John writes, no, Karen, you decide what you want to do. That's interesting, because he doesn't want to be blamed. You made me drive over in the snow, and then I got stuck at your house and couldn't leave. If you hadn't told me to come over, I maybe wouldn't. I wonder if that's where he's thinking. He knows how he gets set up to be the bad guy. Karen Reed then states, I know your heart isn't in it anymore. Oh, wonder why. I felt it for a while, and especially lately. You know what's happened especially lately? Karen Reed is taken to texting and pursuing another guy. What a bunch of projection. I am willing to try more, but not if you're approaching the point of indifference. If you want me to come up and you can head out for a while, then say so when you know what your father is doing. You come up and I head out, really? John O'Keefe also writes, I've told you already, I don't bounce back as quickly as you do after we have a battle. Because for her, it's not really about what it's about. It's just about winning. Karen Reed says at 5:17, no, head out together. Karen Reed also writes, or meet out. John O'Keefe says, gonna send Patrick to Collins tonight. They're picking him up around 7. Mike may hang out too when he brings Matt over. So why don't you just come over? Karen Reed writes, Mike doesn't want to go out for a bit. She's jonesing for a drink if she's not already drinking. Karen Reed then says, I would like to been a SHIT day from the jump. And that's an interesting expression, from the jump. It's also an expression not all that common that we see in Brian Higgins' text messages. At 5:25, Karen Reed also writes, I'll let you hang with Mike for a few. Don't need to butt in. She doesn't want to butt in. She doesn't want to be she doesn't want to be an imposition after calling him 53 times in a day and sending him a million text messages. She doesn't want to be an imposition. Text me when you think you may head out. And at 5:30, Michael Camarino arrives at John O'Keefe's with his daughter at around sometimes between 5 and 5:30 p.m. Okay, so this is pretty interesting. At 5:32:33, Karen Reed had sent John O'Keefe a message, a friend request from Facebook, and Karen messages, are you really not going to accept my friend request? And she also writes, yeah, we have been going out. She goes, yeah, we've been going out for 2 years. And John O'Keefe writes, what? On what? Facebook? I haven't gone on Facebook. Meaning, he says, I haven't gone on. And he means Facebook. You defriended me over a year ago, I believe. So she got mad at him, defriended him. Now she wants to get back on Facebook so she can spy on him and have more control over him and maybe harass some of the people he's associated with, knowing her. Karen Reed then stated, I should have called this episode Karen Reed, the nightmare girlfriend from hell. Karen Reed then stated, Carrie texted that you're headed out a bit. And at 6:14, John O'Keefe replies, okay. Karen replies, she's going to let me know where. John says, so you're going to meet them. KR just presenting it as an option, wouldn't mind hanging out for a drink. And she also writes, is Mike over? John says, yes. Sounds like you're good with getting together tonight. And then she also writes, was hoping after this morning you'd be interested in smoothing things over with me. Told you to come over, but you insisted on meeting me out somewhere, John O'Keefe writes at 6:33. So you see a pattern here where John O'Keefe is constantly having to tell Karen Reed, no, this is thank you for trying to rewrite history, but here's what really happened. Thanks for trying to rewrite history, but here's what really happened. Thanks for trying to rewrite history, but once again, here's what really happened. It's a real pattern you see in these text messages. Karen Reed replied, Mike is a little off with me for a while now. I've said that multiple times. John replies, time to get over it, Karen. He's fine. He was fine the other night when he came by. Probably John O'Keefe's friends are getting wise to her ways, and her phony facade and mask is slipping. Yeah, just wouldn't mind hanging out with other people, like other females. I think she says female here, but she means females too. Karen also asks, where are you meeting them? And then she writes, I don't have plans with them. She just said they're headed out in a bit and we'll test when they had somewhere. And we'll text, I guess she means when they had somewhere. Then she writes at 6:40, if you want to go out with Mike solo, that's fine. Just let me know. John O'Keefe writes back, I had already told you what you should do. Not going to keep doing this. Oh, how annoying. I'm annoyed reading this. Karen Reed writes, I asked to let me know if you guys are going to head out. I haven't been out for drinks this week and had a SHIT week and SHIT day, and I dread Kaylee and Pat is going to get chatty with me the second I walk in, and that is going to irritate you. John O'Keefe's nephew left 1 Meadows Avenue for a sleepover at friends at 7. And at 7:06, John O'Keefe messages Karen Reed, "We're heading out shortly. What's your plan, Karen? Do you want me to join you or no?" John O'Keefe replied, "Yes. Wasn't sure if you're meeting the Currents." And that's Carrie Curran, who comes up, who was married to Chris Curran, and we knew that from Brian Higgins' evidence. Do you want me to join you or no? John O'Keefe replies, okay, sorry, I'm getting behind here. "Where are you headed?" Karen Reed writes. John O'Keefe writes, "Trying to decide, maybe McCarthy's." Karen writes, "Okay, then let me know where you decide. I'm still down in Enfield, where her home is, but where she often doesn't spend time. Mansfield." John O'Keefe replies, "Text me when you leave, still waiting on McKinney's." Karen Reed then wrote, "I'm having issues with my hot water, so had to text someone to take a look." And John O'Keefe asks, "Are you trying to piss me off?" at 7:25, just being very upfront with her. And John O'Keefe then jokingly wrote, "Hope your plumber buddy that you texted is hot." Do you remember the plumber buddy? "Nope, my shower only got lukewarm and now my sink won't run hot at all. The plumber I used is right down the road." This is her BS plumber story. Do you guys remember this? John writes, "Check the water heater and see if it's leaking." Karen writes, "I turned that temp thing in the basement all the way up." Karen also writes, "It's not." John O'Keefe says, "Don't do that. Is the pilot lit? I was trying to get my shower hot." And writes, "Yes, don't turn it all the way up. It will burn out," John writes. Karen writes, "I had this issue twice before and it wasn't a disaster. I just can't remember what the cause was." John replies, probably the evil, just probably Karen Reed's evil gave her plumbing issues. "Just turn it back to where it was and get over here. I don't want to come in a blizzard and then really be up S Creek." John O'Keefe replies, "So you're going home tonight?" John O'Keefe and Michael Camerino went out for a drink to celebrate the fact that John O'Keefe's niece and Michael's daughter had both gotten to the Bishop Feehan. Before leaving, John moves his car, and Michael Camerino and John O'Keefe were captured on CCTV. And Karen Reed says, "Let me know if you're leaving. Why now you're not coming?" And Karen Reed says, "I'm waiting for the plumber. Actually think he's in the driveway." I mean, I don't believe this plumber story. John O'Keefe's father was a plumber, or is a plumber, and he would have probably been doing these kind of things for her for free. This is a way saying, "See, I don't need you anymore. I'm going to hire plumbers now. See, I see that we're breaking up, and I'm now going to hire plumbers on my own and don't need you." It's a real nasty piece of work move. "We're taking Mike's car, so I'm relying on you for a drive if Mike leaves." So I think we've been over some of this, but this gives you an idea. The most interesting parts. Let me just finish this up with a plumber because it's interesting. But you have a plumber coming over at 8, knowing me and Papa could have handled it. Good luck. I've always told you I will not put either of you out of your way, and everyone else in your life does. I knew it wasn't working right when you were at the doctor's with Kaylee, and I knew neither of you could get here. And this guy Richie fixed it last time, wherever it was. He was supposed to be here at 5. See, I won't put you out. I won't make demands of you like everyone else makes demands of you, and I won't make any demands. I'm just a perfect girlfriend. If it's not a quick fix, I'll tell him to forget it. I would bet there's nothing wrong with her water. If you need a new water heater, don't let him do it. He's here now. If it's not quick, who has a plumber at almost 8 o'clock at their home right before a blizzard? I think this is nonsense, and I think John might have been onto it. I'm not doing it either. I just want to be sure nothing is wrong, will go wrong when I'm not home. Karen also texts, he's not a scammer. Half the quick stuff he doesn't even charge me for. He just puts the toilet seat on crooked. How much do you want to bet she's like putting on her own toilet seat crooked? John O'Keefe then asks Karen Reed's status still here. Karen Reed messages John O'Keefe back, says he's got to go to HD and probably be back mañana, tomorrow. So at 8:25:02, funny, you never heard about Karen Reed. Karen Reed canceling this plumber visit, but in trial, Karen Reed replied with the following symbol for a woman. Karen Reed messages John saying, just figure out if I need to be here. What does it need? Oh, the water heater. Tell him to leave it and I'll take care of it Sunday or Monday. No, it's okay. I can meet him here or just shut off the alarm. He used to work here while I was at work. So what's the relationship with this plumber? Seems awfully cozy. Coming over at 8 o'clock at night, coming over to her house when she's not there. Who's the plumber? What do you guys think? So this is the interesting part. So at 8:30, John O'Keefe is captured several times on his phone. And you can see the screenshot. So this gives an idea of everything leading up to them meeting for drinks. And Karen says the storm is being intense, can't drive, telling her to do it Monday. Blizzard. And right before they met. So that is what I have. I'm going to keep it brief for today. Dean Walker. Thanks, Dean Walker. Nice to see you. Tomorrow, I am, unfortunately, maybe, or this week, on jury duty. I will try to set up the live stream of the trial. If I can't, that's what's going on. Have a great Sunday night, and I'll see you all whenever I get back from jury duty. Have a great Sunday night, everybody. I'm going to go out with the way I do so often with my new hit single. I hit my boyfriend with my car.
With lying lawyers, I'll go far. I hit my boyfriend with my car. It wasn't an accident, but with lying lawyers, I'll go far. Lying lawyers and witness harassment, I'll avoid prison. It was snowing. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard. Now the legal system a clown. Innocence fraud campaign to save my skin. Making money, truth is my second victim. Carry, gin, like John, you were my mom. My innocence fraud campaign is my biggest hit yet. I hit my boyfriend with my car. It wasn't an accident, but with lying lawyers I'll go far. Lying lawyers and witness harassment, I'll avoid prison. It was snowing. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard. Now the legal system a clown. Innocence fraud campaign to save my skin. Making money, truth is my son. reading. Jen, Jen, like John, you were my mark. My innocence fraud campaign is my biggest hit yet.